I'm Morgan, and today I want to talk about something that's really confusing and frustrating to me. And honestly, I'm wondering if it's one of those rubbish, unwritten social cues that neurotypical people just expect everyone to follow. But I find that oftentimes when I criticize something on the internet, people will be like, well, I'm going to criticize you even more and say that you're not doing enough about this thing. And it's kind of like frustrating to me because it's like, if I'm criticizing a practice, then I'm already aware that this practice is happening and that there are issues with that practice. So like, I don't understand why people like come at me or just get like super hypercritical of me when I make some like mildly critical statement about like fast fashion. And I am like, how do I put this? I am very concerned about the rights of garment workers because one of the YouTubers who I really respect as an individual is Carolina Zabrowska. And back in October of 2022, she made a video, "We need to talk about the latest Shein scandal." And I learned from that video that there are some concerns about the way that Shein workers specifically are being treated. There have been some very serious allegations about the way that the workers from that company, the manufacturers for that company, have been treated. And so I'm very concerned about that. Like, that's something that I care a lot about. I care a lot about garment workers. And especially because so often garment workers are women. And so I feel like it's a feminist issue, the way that garment workers are treated. But I find that oftentimes when I like make some comment criticizing fast fashion, like people will be really critical of me, and it's it's unnerving and like it makes me feel hurt kind of. So I was watching a video about someone who made a dress kind of inspired by Shein outfit because she was boycotting Shein. And so I left a nice comment saying, "I want to say thank you for staying strong and refusing to support the exploitation of garment workers. You're an inspiration." And then someone, I blurred out their name because I don't want people to attack them. And I want to protect people's privacy. They said, "Yeah, but other big brands do the same. Are you going to refuse all, including your clothing, phones, food, and coffee?" And that's one of those things that it's like, I don't understand why people are so critical when it's like, my phone is from 2016. It has a giant crack on the back, which is why it has a phone case. And the battery doesn't hold up very well anymore. Like, it doesn't hold up very well anymore. So I have a phone that I am essentially using to the point where it's no longer usable. I'm not someone who's out there going and buying the latest and greatest iPhone or whatever. Like, I have an older phone that I'm trying to use as long as I possibly can. And that's not even going to get into the fact that it's like, I don't think I'm particularly in a position to be buying a new phone financially, like at all. And then when I'm buying clothes, it's usually thrifted. It's thrifted, so I'm not directly paying into the exploitation of garment workers. I am pretty much buying all my clothes secondhand. And food-wise, I unfortunately, like, I don't want to go into too many details, but I have very serious medical issues. And so I am on a diet that's definitely a lot different than a lot of other people in America are on. And so it's like, I really can't be picky about like the sources that I'm buying food from. It's basically, it has to be free from my allergens or else I can't eat it. So how do I put this? I really don't have a choice in the companies that I buy food from. So yeah, I think it's extremely low to criticize something that's essentially a medical issue. I think that like criticizing the food choices of someone with serious allergies is similar to criticizing someone with a serious mobility related issue or balance related issue for using a straw, like a plastic straw, because there are a lot of people who require bendy straws to drink if they have a specific disability. And then like also there was this LGBTQIA plus YouTuber who I really respect overall, but she did a Shein swimsuit video, like a Shein swimsuit haul. And so I left a comment on her video saying there are very serious human rights concerns human rights concerns about Shein supply chain. Caroline Zabroska has a video on this topic. I'm very disappointed in you. Alexis, that's the YouTuber's first name. I don't think that's giving too much information because there are a lot of people with that name. And someone replied back, I sincerely hope before you posted this comment, you went through your house and made sure every single item in your house is from a sustainable and ethical brand. And then it's one of those smiley, like, blush faces. And it's like, how is calling out Shein? How is calling out Shein the same as, like, living essentially in a sod house in the middle of nowhere? If someone's you don't have to be, like, zero waste, live off the land homesteader to make more sustainable choices in your life. I don't understand why people are like, if you're going to make this one tiny step, then you're not doing enough to help or whatever. I don't understand that. Is this some neurotypical thing? I do not understand how that is the response. I do not understand that. Is that someone trying to just be a jerk? Neurotypical people are so confusing. That's all I'm going to say there. And then also, someone else was like, but you have a phone that was made by a child. And it's like, my phone's from 2016. I was barely older than a child when this phone came out. I do not think I was even educated enough to be making smart choices about cell phones at that point. You shouldn't be faulting people who were literally children when they got their phones for having a phone. And also it's like, I acknowledge that there are issues with the way that cell phones are made. I think there are very serious human rights concerns with the way that tech workers are treated, manufacturing tech workers are treated too. This is an issue, and there really need to be better, more sustainable options for phones. I 100% agree that this is an issue. I really am concerned about just, manufacturers of things in general that make all these things that we need and use in everyday life, because people need technology to interact with the world, especially because it's the internet especially has opened up so many doors for people with disabilities to be able to just communicate and participate in society. So I really think that technology is essential for everyday life, and especially for people with disabilities. And so I really think that there need to be better, more ethical phones to buy, because I think there are concerns about the way that some of these technology pieces are being manufactured. I think that's a very serious issue. So I remember responding, my phone is from 2016. Again, it's an old phone. It's an old decrepit phone. And I don't see how using a phone that's already in existence until it breaks and no longer works is actively perpetuating the exploitation of human workers. And that's something that I think needs to be talked about too, is that these items that were made in ways that might not have been ethical are still in existence. And if we throw out every single thing that's ever been made in a way that wasn't a good way to be made, then that's just going to be more stuff in landfills, unfortunately. And so sometimes I personally feel like the best option is to keep using the items that are already in existence for as long as possible, so that we don't have to actively engage in buying new stuff, especially if there aren't good ethical options for buying those new items. And especially considering the fact that a lot of times people do not have a lot of money to buy new things, especially people with disabilities. And so, on the other hand, I don't see how using a phone that's already in existence until it breaks and no longer works is actively perpetuating the exploitation of human workers. On the other hand, buying new products from a company that's known to have poor working conditions for workers is directly contributing to their exploitation. And that's something that I really dislike, the saying of no ethical consumption under capitalism. Because under capitalism, we theoretically have the option to boycott. I know that isn't in reality always an option, but as consumers, sometimes there are options to make better choices, to take small steps to make better choices. and to make small steps to be like, hey, I'm really concerned about the way that a certain company is behaving. Why don't I boycott them? Like, that is something that consumers can, in a lot of cases, not all cases, but in some cases do. And so I think that we should really be considering, especially as women, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's marketed to us. Like, there's the saying about the pink tax for a reason. Like, so much stuff is marketed towards women. And so I feel like as women, we can make more conscious choices about the brands that we are supporting, to specifically choose when there is an option to buy from brands that are known to be really good on human rights issues, to treat their workers well, to pay their workers living wages, and who care about stuff like the environment too. Like, I feel like I care a lot more about the way that workers are treated than the environment, because the way that workers are being treated is something that's directly impacting people, like, immediately right now. And the whole climate crisis stuff, like, that to me is less important than the way that workers who are living and breathing in foreign countries are being treated, because they are, like, I feel like it's, to an extent, that's out of sight, out of mind. But things like the environment, like, I feel like that's something that directly impacts people in the Western world. And so I feel like there's already a lot more awareness about that sort of thing. And I feel like there needs to be more awareness about the way that workers in foreign, like, places all over the globe are treated. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I feel like sometimes, like, I don't understand why people so often are like, well, you're criticizing this one little thing, so therefore you're not doing enough at all, period. And it really bothers me, because I feel like sometimes we can take small steps to make change. Like, what's the saying go? Like, be the change that you want to be in the world. I feel very strongly that sometimes we as individuals have to be the ones to make the world a better place, instead of relying on the government or corporations to do it for us. So yeah, I wanted to talk about stuff that was passionate to me, that I feel passionate about and that is important to me. And I hope you are having a safe and happy Pride Month. Bye!